Let's let Esther in.
Запустила.
Great, so we're now recording. Katya asked whether I would lead a seminar like this. And I thought, well, what could I talk about that would be useful? And something I'm particularly passionate about, and something that I found that's been particularly useful over the last year or so, is helping pupils who maybe I'm not seeing day to day, themselves be able to grapple with stuff and do stuff which is good without me. And I think that nowadays, you know, with technology as it develops, as it improves, there's a huge opportunity for us to not see it as a threat, but to see it as a brilliant way that our pupils can just get better at Russian when we're not there, or when a native speaker isn't there, that they can ask, you know, how would a Russian speaker say this? What would they do? And we're going to look at a range of apps and a few websites tonight, which are going to hopefully help you to show some of these to your pupils, and hopefully they'll find it useful. Now, you may be thinking, do I need to write stuff down tonight? Hopefully you don't. So I have a website, and everything I'm going to talk to you about tonight, I've put on my website. So I'm going to share my screen with you. I'm going to share my screen with you. Oh, there we go. And you should be able to see, here's my WhatsApp. We don't want to see that. Oh, let's close down WhatsApp. There we go. And hang on, let's open up. Hang on, let's open that. Close my WhatsApp. There we go. Keep the personal stuff off the screen. And this is my website. So all you need in terms of like all you need in terms of tonight is this website, www.russianvocab.co.uk. So www.russianvocab.co.uk. Now this is a website that I wrote, designed, whatever you want to call it, a few years ago when I wrote this vocab book. I know some of you guys are aware of this book, and it was really just a place where I could put resources for people using this book, so lists of words, those sort of things. But quickly it became an area where I felt I could put other stuff, you know. So if I thought there's really good resources I wanted to share, didn't want to keep to myself, I could put them here too. So for example, a number of you guys use some beginners resources, which I use, James Bond, those sort of things, which are all sort of here. Other resources, beginners resources, James Bond. So some of you guys have done that for a while, but for a number of years, I thought, gosh, like I really want to put on here a number of resources which I love and find very useful. And so all the apps and all the websites I'm going to talk about tonight are on here in different sections. If you go to other resources, there's one called Best Dictionary. There's one called Helps with Endings and Stress. There's one called Dual Subtitle Videos by Topic. There's one called Parallel Readers, one called Grammar Resources. And then over here in Vocab Resources, there's some other stuff to do with Quizlet and Visual Vocab, frequency vocab, other sort of things. And so basically, I'll be taking you through what's here. So first of all, I'll do a quick tour. First of all, Best Dictionary. You know, our kids need a dictionary. When I was learning Russian, I had a big fat Oxford Russian dictionary. When I was starting teaching, I can remember commuting to my job on the train with this dictionary in my knapsack, you know, lugging it here and there for when my sixth formers are using words which I didn't know. And now, obviously, on our phones, you can get these resources, these dictionaries. But what are the best? There are so many. I'm going to show you. Oh, let's have a look at this chat in the chat room. That's fine. Great. No worries. So I'm going to show you some of these today. The two which I think are the absolute winners, which I recommend to my kids, are one called Lingue, and I'll show you in a second, okay, and one called Reverso Context. And you'll see here what I've done is some little pictures, a little review, if you will. And what I'll be doing is I'll be showing you how to use it. And one of the big things about tonight is not just what are these apps, but how can we get our pupils using them? And I think one of the main ways of doing that is by showing them. It's not good enough to send them a link, okay, and expect them to use it, or to tell them it exists and expect them to use it. You have to get them to use it, show them how to use it, demonstrate it, do it during a lesson. Don't feel like you're cheating if they spend time in a lesson using these apps when you're not teaching them face to face. ultimately you're teaching them skills and tools that they'll be able to use when you're not there. So I'll talk to you about Lingue and Reverso. Help with endings and stress. Okay, I'll show you a great app called Verbal, okay, which declines and conjugates things. Really helpful, lots of stress there as well. We'll show you a program called Russian Gram, okay, very, very useful to add stress to things. We'll talk about dual subtitles videos. I'm very big on dual subtitles videos. I think if kids can watch videos with the Russian and the English on the screen at the same time, I think that's brilliant and the very best you can do. I'll show you a couple of brilliant channels which I use, which I totally trust to have great content. Obviously there are more, but also I'll show you how you can tweak Chrome a little bit so you can get it to get 2 subtitles on the screen with anything. Even something which has no subtitles, you can get it to auto-generate both. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Bit of parallel readers, you know, for your kids who may want to do a bit of reading in their own time. Obviously, if it's in parallel Russian and English, they can work that out. They can see it. They can spot links, and you can really let them go. One of them's Map, a couple of useful websites as well. Then I'm going to talk to you about some grammar resources, particularly an app called Closemaster. And finally, we'll talk about, I suppose, perhaps the app of apps in terms of vocab learning, I think, which is Quizlet, and why I use it a lot, why I think it's really brilliant and useful. So that's the shape of the talk. We're going to start by, I'm going to show you those apps. So I'm going to take you through 6 apps, there's my 6, 6 apps, and then 6 websites. I'm going to try and spend about 2 minutes per app. Okay, and if you want to make notes, you can do, obviously. This is being recorded, and like I say, everything is on this website, russianvocab.co.uk. You can come here after this talk and read it in your own time, find these things on your phone, have a play with them. But as I said, like if we want, I've been to enough of these talks over the years where I go over the list of things, and I just don't, I'm busy, I don't have the time. Is it worth it? Do I invest time in getting to know these apps? Hopefully, when I show you what they do, you'll be like, wow, these are great. Wouldn't it be great if my pupils could do this? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a video. Now I hope this is going to work. So I literally I'm so bad. I should have done this over half term, but I ended up only doing it about sort of doing it about 15 minutes ago. So I hope this is going to work. If it doesn't, then I'll be like held up as an example of why you shouldn't do things at the last minute. But here we go. So this is a video of me on my phone showing you how to do things. Now, again, like if you want to get your kids to use an app, very, very simple. If you swipe up, I've got an iPhone, so if you have an iPhone, if you swipe up on the iPhone, there's a little sort of looks like targets and dots which you can press, and you can screen record what is on your phone. Okay, so if you want to show a kid or a set of pupils how to use an app, you don't want to do it again and again and again and again and again and again, then do it once, record a video and send them the video, show them how to use it. Now, obviously, they won't see your finger presses, unfortunately. So I've tried to talk you through mostly what I'm doing. Hopefully this will work. But here we go. So I'm going to here. Oh, there we go now. Where are we? Video. Okay, so here we are. This is my second attempt at recording these things for you guys. Hopefully it will work. I'm going to go into my first app, which is up here, called Lingue. Now, Lingue is a really, really good dictionary tool. I recommend it for all my beginners. I'm going to type in the word cat here. And you see here, it just sets things out really, really nicely. So you can see very clearly, koshka, kot, it gives you the feminines and masculines, the genders, really, really lovely. But also it shows you, here's the noun, koshka, kot, but also the adjective form too. So it's really, really clear and helps pupils to see where those grammatical differences are. It's based on AI, so it's found all these results from the internet, and it comes into its own with words that could be sort of different in different contexts. So, for example, the word lead or lead, okay, which is here.
So, for example, we've got vedushi, glavny, if it's going to be the noun used as an adjective for a person, but also the verb rukovodit, okay, provodit, vesti, быть главным, the noun, okay, ключ, главная роль. And what's helpful here is you've got all sorts of different contexts as well that you can use them in. So that is a really brilliant resource. It's got offline dictionaries as well, but I find that super useful. That's the one I recommend to all my kids. I also get them working with reverso context, which is here on the top line, okay, on the third row across, okay, reverso context. And again, it's a really good AI-powered app. Let's suppose I want to have a word in context. So, for example, we looked at lead before, but I want to look at take a lead. Oh, take a lead role. I can't do it. Take a lead role. Search that up. So here you see we've got a number of different options. Играть ведущую роль, взять на себя ведущую роль, сыграть ведущую роль. All of which we can then look at below. You can see them in context. You can have a look, when would I use играть ведущую роль, when would I use взять на себя ведущую роль. Sometimes these will be synonymous, but it really helps me to get to grips with a certain word in a certain context. Like this app for me is having a native speaker there next to you. So, well, how would you say this? What would you say? It's really, really useful. Or perhaps we might say something like, I don't know, take a risk. Okay, and again, it will give us lots of examples in context. Okay, I might then tap idти на риск, and it will just show me examples with that. Now, when you do this, it's quite helpful. You can star them if you want to. Okay, it then adds them to a phrase book. You can see a phrase book at the bottom, and it has a learn setting. So, you know, presumably when you're using these dictionaries, you're looking at words you're not sure about or context you're not certain of. And actually, the fact that it saves it for you is a wonderful thing. And it means you can come back to it at some point when you have 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and you have a ready-made vocabulary set based on words which you've looked up. It also has a little synonym section. Okay, so there's the English synonyms for take a risk. Okay, if I go to risknúť, I can look at the risknúť ones, and here are different words as well. In fact, not all these are great synonyms, I must say, but you get the idea. So, what else do we have? So those are the two dictionaries that I recommend, Lingue and Reverso Context. Of course, there are others. Those ones are both free. Lingue is free. Reverso is free with some ads. You can pay to have it without ads. I pay to have it without ads. I think it's brilliant. But I think for all of these, if you're going to introduce an app for your students, I think you want to be having it free so that they can just very easily get used to it. If they then want to upgrade to a paid version, they can. Otherwise, it's tricky. Always going to parents and stuff to get them to pay for things. So, what's my next key app? Well, you'll have seen from those dictionaries, they give you good translations in context, but they don't help with things like endings or with stress. Okay, and as we know, if we're conjugating or declining or wondering about the stress of things, that can be a real pain. And obviously, old dictionaries would help us with that to a certain extent, but lots of the digital ones don't. That's where an app called Verbole comes in. Have a look down on the fourth row and 4 across. There's one called Verbole Lite here. Verbole Lite. I'm going to go into it. And this basically is a program which basically conjugates and declines things. So, for example, if I took a word which is irregular, like brat, okay, we'll see here very clearly it shows the stress and the endings in a lovely clear fashion for brat. You see it gets all those irregular plurals correct. It's got the animate accusative correct. So really, really nice. Seeing as we're here, we'll have a look at brat as well, the imperfective verb. Okay, again, biru, biriosh, biriot, it spots it's what I call the 1B. Okay, birion, birioti, birut. Okay, it's got some past tenses, it's got some imperatives, it's got some participles and some gerunds as well. So really, really useful. I can look at взять as well, since I'm here. Возьму, возьмешь, возьмет, возьмем, возьмете, возьмут. Past tense, imperatives, participles, gerunds. Really, really useful. So brilliant. Great for verbs. I mean, I used to have a book called 555 Russian verbs, or the big silver book of Russian verbs. This really makes that totally obsolete. It's got adjectives too. Let's pick something like bivshy. So there's my masculine, there's my feminine, there's my neuter. It picks up all the soft endings, all the spelling rules. So really, really powerful app. It helps with stress too. So if I pick something which kids struggle with, you want to check, let's suppose like vada. Okay, you see vada in the nominative, but vodu in the accusative. Or maybe a verb like khadit. And you see here, хажуб and ходишь, ходит, ходим, ходите, ходит. Obviously, the bonkers are regular ones. We can look up like Dutch. And there it is, dam, dash, das, da, dim, da, di, da, dut. So super useful, again, as a tool for kids to have next to them when they're doing their homework, when they're trying to write in Russian, or know exactly how to pronounce something. Super useful. So those are the three kind of tools. Other things they might want to look at. You'll see at the bottom line I've got something called parallel texts. This is perhaps for a pupil who wants to splash around a bit and do a bit of reading in their own time. So here's Anna Karenina actually. So this one actually works in different languages. You see, although it's written by a Russian guy, so a lot of stuff in here is English-Russian. If I look at English-Russian, you've got lots of English books, Winnie the Pooh, Brave New World, Lost World, Sherlock Holmes. But let's have a look at some Russian to English. There's some Chekhov here, some Pushkin. Let's have a look at where we just were actually. Let's have a look at Tolstoy, have a look at Karenina. So let's suppose one of your students, your sixth formers, wants to dip into Karenina a bit. Again, this is a free app. It loads up. And what's nice is you'll get the Russian on the screen in a second, and you can read the Russian, and then you just tap on the screen. So obviously, very, very famous start to the book. Все счастливые семьи похожи друг на друга, каждая несчастливая семья несчастлива по-своему. Now, if I read that and I want to know what it means, I can just tap it. Happy families are all alike. Every unhappy family is unhappy in its own way. I tap the screen again, and away it goes. Все смешалось в доме Oblonskих. Everything was in confusion in the Oblonskis' house. So again, it's a super app for kids to do a bit of dual reading. They can read something, see if they understand it, and back they go. There are all sorts of ones in there. You can read. Sorry for all my notifications popping up. Should turn those off. So really, really good. A couple more to show you. One called Close Master, which is here, second row on the left. Close Master. So for example, what can we do on Close Master? Let's have a look at grammar challenges. Okay, and let's suppose we want to have a look at nouns. Okay, and we're just going to play. Now what this does is it will give you a sentence and it has a gap. That's a close test, an old close test as we know as teachers. Что ты думаешь о своем? And what will it be? Asvayom. So the pupils have to think, gosh, what does that take? Okay, it's prepositional. Asvayom. Лицо will go to лице.
Что ты думаешь о своем лице?
You may have heard it as just actually read that aloud. It has audio functions too. This is nice. You get to see the sentence in Russian and in English, as well as practicing. If I go next, what do we got? Something черный. Something черный. What would this be? So presumably just a straight nominative.
Конь черный.
Конь черный. Next. У него something в боку. What does he have? Does he have pain? Well, it could be pain, I suppose. It says pains. So let's see if it's боли. There we go. So you get the idea. It's just a nice thing. Again, like for a pupil who wants to improve their grammar, check their endings, very, very useful. It doesn't just have grammar. It has noun. It has common words as well. So for example, we get a common words. 100 most common. This would be quite simple ones for beginners. Вы something где? Where are you now? Okay, вы сейчас где? Next. Это something. Это Катя, это мой, это Йорк, это получим. Это мой. You get the idea. It's quite nice and simple for beginners and more advanced students to get a bit of practice with their endings, with their words. It's a brilliant little program. It's free. If you want to access every bit of it, you do have to pay a bit. But again, it can keep their interest for a while. And the last app I'm going to give you or talk to you about is Quizlet. Now, many of you guys may be using Quizlet already. It really is a brilliant app. for a number of reasons that I'll talk about a bit later when you can see my desktop. But if I tap into it, and we're going to go back to my main area. So here's my home, and what can I show you here? So here's one of my year 10 classes, and actually I've just set up their Quizlet class for this year. So you can see here, Sevenoaks School, year 10 Russian, JDD. So I go here, and you will see I've got 4 folders for them. I've got some frequency vocab for GCSE, I've got some grammar sets, and I've got some level 1 and 2 words from Quad Vocab, which some of you guys may know is a vocab book which I wrote and have sold to a good many of you guys. But also at the bottom there are some sets for Marsh. Many of you guys may use the Marsh materials. So we go down here are all my sets for Marsh, all ordered. And today with my year 10s, we're doing Marsh Tvar, shopping and eating out. And it's so important when you do stuff with the kids to show them how to use it. I mean, they could, of course, just start playing, okay? And here's match, ready to play. And they could do it straight away. Ham, where's like Vichina? Okay, Pinal, where's my pencil case? And so I think match is the simplest game. Pelmeni, to wait for start, shopping, покупки, to rush, speshit, which is fine. So we can play that. But what's going to be really good for them is actually if they only work at learning the words they actually don't know. So for example, alio, they're going to be able to guess that. Blini, they'll know that. But bliudo, they might not know. So I'm actually going to tap the star. Okay, vichina, they might not know, tap the star. And I'd encourage my kids to do this. And all the ones which are hard, okay, all the ones which are hard, the shovi they get wrong. Okay, daskori, they probably wouldn't know. Stad, padastat. You see here, okay, the ones which are harder, we can star them. And what we can then do is we can then just test the ones which are harder. Okay, the ones which are harder. So let me do a few more of these. So we've got enough. Pinal, rezinka, serditi, serdica. Speshit, titrat. It's probably enough. So you'll see here at the top, I've now got the option, instead of study all in the middle, I can just study 18. And if I do that, you see it, I just do the starred ones. So it's so useful. So now I could study this set with my match. Okay, start with 18 stars. And off we go. And now I'm just doing the harder ones. This is really going to test me. Okay, so let's have a look. So ruler is like a line. So linieka. Bliudo is going to be my dish. Okay, serditi is angry. Rezinka, eraser. Cheap deshovi. See you soon. Daskroi. There we go. So you get the idea. It's a brilliant app. Why do I love Quizlet particularly? You have total control. You can set these folders up. So I set this up for my year 10s this afternoon. It's got 138 vocab sets in it. But because I already had them all in folders, it took me literally 2 minutes to send all of those 130 odd sets to my kids. So really, really useful. I'm going to stop now because I have to start talking to you guys in 5 minutes. But yeah, those are the apps, and I'll show you some of the websites in a bit. There we go. Now I'm going to go here.
There. Okay, so stop sharing. Okay, so hopefully you guys managed to see that. I think that there was a lag at my end in terms of where the audio was and where the visual was, but hopefully you gave the idea of just those apps. And I think, again, like I said, like how we present these to our pupils is really important. I think once they've seen them in action, suddenly I think, gosh, actually that is really useful. And so the more we can do that, the better. What I'm going to plan is I'm going to show you just some websites very quickly, and then the plan is that we're going to go to 2 breakout rooms or 2 breakout questions. So having shown you some of the websites, a breakout room to ask the question. Let me just mute a few people. So just a few 2 questions. One, like, what else do you use? Now I'm trying to present with you this evening what I think are the absolute winners and what I would want all of my pupils' phone screens to look like in terms of the apps they use and the place they know to go to. Now, it may well be with all your experience in this room, many of you guys may think, well, that's good, but yeah, Jon's not mentioned this, which is the one that everyone should be using. So we'll go to some breakout rooms in about sort of 10 minutes or so, just to share ideas, and then we'll come back as a big group. And then secondly, the second breakout session, just on how can we engage pupils? Okay, do we think this is worth it? If so, how can we actually get kids using these? What kind of techniques can we use? How do we embed them into our teaching and learning? Okay, to make that happen. Now I'm going to share my screen. So I've shown you six apps. So I showed you Lingue and Reverso, which were the 2 dictionary apps. Verbal, which was the one with the endings. Parallel Text, which is great for reading. Close Master, which is great for missing words. And then Quizlet, which is, for my mind, the best vocab app, and we'll come back to that in a second. Why? A few other quick websites, and I'm going to share my screen again with you guys, and we're going to get back to Russian vocab. And so first of all, the first brilliant website here is Russiangram. And so it's just really good. It's a free website, and basically you can paste any piece of text into here, hit annotate, and it will add stress marks for you. Absolutely brilliant. If you guys are making resources, or if you're making vocab lists, for example, and you have all the vocab in unstressed form, you can paste it in here and it will give you the stressed form. It's really great. It's got an extension as well, which allows you to add stress within your Google Chrome browser. So it will stress the page on your screen. Totally brilliant. So I use this a lot, especially making resources, making vocab sets. It saves me doing this. Obviously, you can add stress manually in Word and Excel, but it's a pain, let's face it. And this program is very good. So Russiangram, really great. I might just close the door. My daughter is giving us a singing lesson. 1 second. There we go. We've all had these moments, haven't we, on Zoom or whatever it might be over the last few months or last year or so. So that's really great. Now, dual subtitle videos. I think these are just absolutely brilliant. So if I get my pupils to watch stuff, okay, on YouTube and recommend stuff, I just think having the Russian and the English on screen at the same time is just invaluable, really invaluable. Now, some content producers do this for you. Okay, so I've picked 2 here, which I personally really like. The Easy Russian channel on YouTube and Russian with Max. I find these videos just really great. The quality is always excellent. They're well produced. They have good subtitles. Personally, I subscribe to them and support them financially for a small amount each month because I think their work is really good. If you do that, you get things like transcripts of what is said, which again is really useful if you want to make resources based on videos for your pupils. And yeah, and you can support them from as little as $5 a month. And when you think about the amount of time you may invest in making resources, I think that's really useful. Just have a look at the chat. What's that? Ruglish. Yeah, like Russian English. That's back. So I'm just catching up with the chat. Yeah, have a play with Russiangram later on. It basically it gives you a Roman, like Russian stuff in a Roman text. So let's suppose you can't even read Cyrillic. Okay, it will do it in a Roman text for you. Ruglish. So yeah, perhaps. In fact, I'm not going to show you these now. You can look at these in your own time. But if you go to YouTube, look at Easy Russian channel. They're really good. These are great for beginners. They're short, 3 to 7 minutes. Russian with Max, I tend to use more advanced ones. He does lots of travel around Russia. Most of them are longer, 10 to 20 minutes. Some are as long as an hour. There's a really good one on travel and train travel in Russia. He's hugely engaging. He's very good, Max, at getting the vocab right. Again, simplifying things in a way that learners will understand. And as I say, like you get the English and the Russian subtitles side by side. In fact, I will just jump into one of these. Why not? Let me go into YouTube. So if I go into YouTube, youtube.com, and I'm just going to put in easy Russian channel. I'm not going to have reverse in there. Cancel. Okay, I'm going easy Russian channel. There it is. And I could pick any of these. So what should we so let's have, I don't know, Russians on stereotypes in Russia. So we'll click on it here.
Здравствуйте, дорогие зрители Easy Russian. Меня зовут Аня, и сегодня мы будем спрашивать жителей.
Now, in fact, what you can see here is doubling. I've got to turn my actual, I have a widget I'll tell you about in a second. Let's turn that off, close and close. Close that, there we go.
Санкт-Петербурга
There we go.
про стереотипы о России. Поехали! Какие стереотипы о России вы знаете?
Много.
Ну какой-нибудь назовите.
Медведи, балалайки.
Медведи и водка.
Да, балалайка.
Спасибо.
Балалайка, водка, медведи.
А еще какие-нибудь?
You get the idea. Let me come back to Zoom. You lost it. You get the idea. So really good. You've got the Russian there, and I always say, yeah, listen, because it's hard for them to pick out Russian words. If they can listen to it and read the Russian as well, that's brilliant. And for most pupils, that will be enough. But having the ability then just to flick down and look at the English is so helpful. Now, obviously, those are produced videos. Okay, easy Russian, Russian with Max. Okay, they're produced with the 2 subtitles. But you can get YouTube to do it for you, okay, if you use a widget called dual subtitles. This is brilliant, okay. What it will do is it will either auto-generate or machine translate subtitles, so you can get 2 subtitles on the screen with any video. It's really, really brilliant. All the information about how to do it is on here on my website, and do encourage your pupils as well to reduce the speed. Use the fact that YouTube can slow stuff down. If you get something like, you know, a newscaster, a news show, it's just so quick, and yet you can slow it down to 0.75. Really, really useful. So I would always encourage my kids to watch videos with dual subs. Just really, really, really useful. Otherwise, a little bit on parallel text just here, and then we're in the home straight. There's a great website called Russian for Free, which has a lovely page of dual readers just here. What's nice is that you get the stressed Russian on one side, you get the translation on the left, and then
Русский медведь.
a lovely audio as well.
Некоторые иностранцы думают, что в России медведи ходят по улицам. Конечно, это неправда.
Again, so really lovely little text. It's got different levels, and again, great extension work for your kids, or a nice thing to set for homework. It's great for them to be able to hear it as well as to read it. The stress is there. It's built very, very well for learners. And this is one which I've done Adam here, Mr. Fergus, who's on this call with us, who pointed me towards this brilliant resource. It's a poetry reader for Russian learners. Now this is a book which I have as well. I hadn't realized there was this companion website to it, and it's so beautiful. What does it have? Well, it has various poets. So let's suppose you were going to look at some poems or a certain poet. So Pushkin, let's suppose you were doing a vestibular with some beginners, for example. What's lovely is it has a stressed text. If you hover over the harder words, okay, it explains what it means. Угасла, to be extinguished, угаснуть, больше не тревожит, to trouble you, печалит, to sadden you, безмолвно, безнадежно. Okay, so you've got lovely translations. You've got some context over here about who it was written for, and then if we press play over here.
Я вас любил, любовь еще, быть может, в душе моей угасла не совсем.
And as much as it feels dreadful to put a pause on Pushkin, I'm going to do that because I know you're all busy. but it's amazing. And so, for example, you could use this either, you know, for kids to go and explore in their own time, or if you want to flip learning a bit, again, you were about to do a lesson on Akhmatova or Gumilyov or Yesenin, whoever it might be, you could say, right, go and spend an hour and go and find out, go and read some of the context. go and listen to some of the poems, practice one of them. What did you hear? So a great way to get them ready for a lesson before you teach that lesson itself. So we're almost there. The very last, the last one I would just use is just, let's admit, Katya's back here. Is just using Quizlet. Why do I think Quizlet is really, really good? Because it's just absolutely brilliant at making lists quickly. Those of you guys who use Quad Vocab, you may be familiar with the master file here. Obviously, like, let's save it then. Typing in vocab takes a long time. So if we can avoid typing in vocab, that's a great thing to do. And so, for example, so something you could do, and I encourage my pupils to do, is to make their own lists, So here's an example, for example, of everything which is in QV. It's organized by page. And so if you had a copy of the book, then you could do it. So for example, if we go to page 20, or we'll get to adjectives. Let's go down here. So here are the adjectives. Okay, and let's suppose I wanted to do a quick vocab set for my kids. Okay, and here are like the simple adjectives. Let's have a look here, some adjectives. And I wanted to pick some of these adjectives, for example. Okay, all I could do, for example, is put some X's in here. Let's learn plохой and большой, маленький, интересный, скучный, новый, старый, etc. Was that coming up? Why is that coming up? Oh, enable editing, there we go. I could put crosses in here with whichever ones I want to learn, for example. And then if I go to the top and use my little filter here, I just want my X's, and all of a sudden I have a very nice little vocab list. Now what you can do with Quizlet, as I'm sure you guys will know if you use it, and let's move this across. If I just start a Quizlet thing, so one of the things I love about Quizlet is you can make sets in seconds. Oh, not Quizlet Live, Quizlet.com. Okay, we're here. Okay, and let's drag it out of the way. And I'm going to create a set. Okay, and we'll call it a study set. And I'm just going to call it Russian RTG example, but I'll call it whatever it be. And the best thing about Quizlet is this thing here: import from Word, Excel, Google Docs, etc. Now, if I do this, all I have to do is go to any spreadsheet, for example. I copy that, I go into here, I paste it, I put import, and there we go. So I don't spend my whole life typing in vocab, okay, which I used to do when I sort of began making sets and things. I put all of my vocab into Excel spreadsheets. I find it incredibly useful, and that was, I suppose, where all of the Quizlet stuff came from. Now all of these files are available here on my website. If you're interested, particularly for school teachers, perhaps, if you use Vнимание and Marsh. Okay, I made this over half term. If you're interested, so for example, all of the vocab for Vнимание and Marsh is here. But not only that, it's going to open. Not only that, so you'll see here. So for each chapter in Vнимание, okay, here are all the words. Not only that, but there's actually some vocab tests here as well, which you guys can use. So for example, here's the first part of Vнимание. The vocab is here, and here is a test from Russian to English. Here's a test from English to Russian. I think it's really important, if you get kids to learn vocab, to actually test them on it. Okay, actually they love the structure, they love being tested. It gives them some reward for their hard work. And what I've actually done here is a random generator. So you guys can use these. Let's suppose you want to do a test and you're doing Vнимание part 1, chapter 3. Okay, you'll see here. Here's a test. There's an instruction how to select all data below from columns O, P, Q, and R. Select that. Click the data tab at the top. There we go. Okay. Oh, why isn't let me do it? Enable editing. Sorry, I have to enable editing. Do it again. So I'm going to select all these things here. Data tab. I'm going to sort them, and I'm going to sort them by this column here, which you'll see has random numbers in it. So if I do that, okay, you'll see that everything changes. And all of these tests just changed. I can do it again. Okay, I can go here, column O, smallest to largest, and that just changed. And you see all of these change based on what you do here. So all of these effectively are randomly generated tests for all of Vнимание and Marsh. Okay, the quiz sets are all here if you want to use them. Again, it's just there for you guys to use. If you use Vнимание and Marsh, then please do use those. It just, yeah, it's better one person doing it than lots of people. There's a link there to a Quizlet folder with all of the Vнимание sets, a Quizlet folder with all of the Marsh sets. If you do use those, feel free to use them. There are also some very useful frequency vocab resources here. I mean, I get my kids to use frequency resources so much. When kids are busy, okay, you want to make their time worthwhile. And so using frequency vocab is really useful. About 7 or 8 years ago, some of my pupils and I, we made a frequency vocab list based on the GCSE papers. It's at the back of Quad Vocab as well. And so, for example, if we look at a GCSE frequency list and we actually look at those words which come up most often at GCSE. Let's see if it pops on the screen now. Here they are. You know, so I would say to my children, we'll start at the top. V, ya, I, bit, na, sto, u. Let's make sure we know these well. And if we don't, put an X here to learn them. And again, my kids would go through this. They'd put X next to the ones they don't know. Or if they edit it, they could do put X next to the ones they don't know. X, 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 and links randomly if you get the idea. And then they can filter. They've now got a vocab set they can copy and paste straight into Quizlet, and there it is. And there's no typing involved. Okay, just a few X's, a bit of filtering, and they can do it. Now, all of these resources are available for you guys to use on my website. Please do. I'm going to scroll down. If you're interested in making your own frequency list, again, I'm going to thank Mr. Fergus for this one. There is a great website by a Harvard academic called Stephen Clancy, which can help you make your own frequency lists, or make a frequency list for a given text. So perhaps a literary text you're looking at. It can color code your text according to each word's rarity. It does lots of cool stuff. I was hoping to talk to you guys for half an hour. It's been 45 minutes, so I apologize for that. But I'm going to come back now. Now, my hope is that in all those things I've shown you, there will be something you've thought, wow, I could use that. That would be great. And it would be great, you know, you won't take all 13 of those things away, but there might be one thing that you'll take away, or maybe 2 things. And my encouragement would be just to get started. Pick one, and the next time you see your students, what are you going to share with them? Pick one at a time. Don't throw them 13 things. Okay, they'll just panic. Okay, and they won't use them. Much better, introduce them gradually, one by one, get them used to it, show them how useful it is and how much it can support their learning, what a great tool it is, and use that. I'll open any questions first before we go to quick breakout groups, because again, like, I'm sure there are lots of other things we could use, but perhaps first, any questions from anybody on anything I've shown or anything you'd like me to talk further about? No questions. It's just like my classes at school. No questions. Never any questions. So
Jon, can I? Sorry, it's me again. I just, before I disappear, because I'm in and out. It's Katja here, by the way.
Yeah, thanks, Katja.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you so much. Even though I've been in and out of the presentation, I know you are our tech wizard. And it's really inspirational, and I know that these things are going to make everyone's life so much easier. I know there is a fear of technology amongst lots of us, isn't there? But even with that, you just get on and do it. And guys, believe me, it will, like I said in the previous webinar, it will revolutionize your life as a teacher and revolutionize the life of your students as learners. So, Jon, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart.
That's fine. Thanks, Katja. All I say is I would not put myself in the box of a tech whiz. I would not say I'm a tech whiz. I'm comfortable with trying new stuff. And if I'm being honest, Katja, one of the reasons why I agreed to do this talk is that I knew that actually I don't do this stuff as much as I should. And I knew that if I said, Katja, I'll do the talk in November, then by November the 2nd, come hell or high water, I would have checked everything, put it on my website, finally done everything. I work well to deadlines, I think.
Needed a motivation.
Yeah, exactly.
For all of us.
Yeah, but let's go to a couple of, so how many are we? We're 17. Let's go to 3 breakout groups. Just for 5 minutes. We'll give you 7 minutes. And in breakout groups, just discuss what other apps or what other websites do you find particularly useful? If I could ask one person within each breakout room to act as like recorder, to write down everything, and if one person per breakout room could feedback with what you guys discussed and which ones were suggested as other really good websites or apps to try, that would be great. So I'm going to put you in breakout rooms now. I'm going to put you into 3 random breakout rooms, okay, with 6 in each. And like I say, if one person could volunteer to feed back to the group in 7 minutes, that would be great. So enjoy chatting to each other, and I'll see you in 7 minutes. There we go. Let's see if we can pause this recording again. Okay, do we have a spokesperson from room 1, which I think was Ignaty, Tatiana, Guta, Tatiana?
Меня, похоже, назначили.
Отлично.
Я пытаюсь стать на месте, из я хожу, потому что спит. Да. Значит, мы обсудили как платные, так и бесплатные ресурсы, начиная с фильмов, например. Гуд упомянула фильм 90-го года «В Москву», который, в принципе, можно еще найти, хотя он 90-го года. А более свежие материалы — это на Netflix разные сериалы русские с английскими субтитрами. Ну, вот, типа Троцкого, «Пандемия», и вылетел из головы третий сериал. Но, тем не менее, для уровня A-Level или для взрослых учеников это вполне хороший ресурс, для которого нужна подписка, но, тем не менее, она у многих людей есть на Netflix. Затем есть ресурс Russian Podcast Татьяны Климовой, который тоже вроде как стал только платным, но, тем не менее, там есть и видео, аудио, и тексты на русском и английском языках. То есть вот то, что, Джон, вы упоминали сегодня 2 варианта, вот, наверное, это 3-й вариант. Russian Podcast Татьяны Климовой. И 2-й вариант — это Юланг, больше подходящий для уровня A-Level, тоже платный ресурс, но там хорошая подборка, насколько понял, текстов и аудио по системе образования России, праздники, балет, и, соответственно, это и тексты, и аудиоресурсы там тоже. И из более таких ходовых — это, пожалуй, Learn Russian, Russia Today, да, это бесплатный сайт, наверное, его все знают. Duolingo, мы сошлись во мнении, что это очень-очень базовый, примитивный вариант, но, тем не менее, ученики могут его использовать сами, делая первые свои шаги в русском языке. И Linguascope, это платный ресурс, я забыл, о чем он, извините, Baby Brain. И последний вариант — это Kahoot, который очень похож на Quizlet, но, в отличие от Quizlet, его можно использовать в классе, работая в группе. И единственный его минус — это то, что он работает только на мобильных устройствах, соответственно, на мобильных телефонах. Соответственно, если у людей доступ к компьютеру, а не к телефонам, то это может быть проблематично. Но, тем не менее, вот это тема Quizlet в виде Kahoot. У меня все.
That's really helpful, Ignaty. Thank you. Yeah. Again, it's a challenge, isn't it? You know, there are so many good paid resources out there, and if you have individual pupils, I think maybe they'll take that jump. If you have a whole class, it becomes trickier. But really helpful. Yeah, Kahoot's an interesting one, and a lot of people love Kahoot. I find it just takes longer to make a Kahoot. Once you've made a good one, it's very useful though. But that's super helpful. Ignaty, thanks for all that feedback. Brilliant. Group 2, that was Esther, Leah, Natalia, Eugenia, Irina.
Yes, I'll report on behalf of our group.
Thanks, Natalia.
Yes, we have decided that we all are guilty in not using enough apps and enough resources already, ready-made resources in our classes. And the issue is that the students require a little bit more detail, a little bit more explanation. So even all these resources are available, we still need to spend lots of time to tailor them specifically for our students and groups. And also, of course, it depends upon the age group. If we're talking about adults, then they are pretty happy using the more traditional resources and teaching styles. But if it's if we are talking about younger students, then of course they are more switched on and more knowledgeable about everything that's available. And in a way, we as teachers, it's now our turn to learn from them and to use them as our resources. So some of my students actually recommended Russian with Max to me, and that's how I learned about it. Then I also recommended Peekaboo. I don't know if it's like a selection of latest news, I guess. It's like a reading journal or like a reading blog in Russian, but it's probably better for advanced students. So we haven't come up with any resources. From me, I can say that I use me as a resource. I just record texts for my students and then adapt them. And so that's, I mean, it's very, very easy these days to exchange recordings with the students. So that's, and the question that we'll have is, what is the proportion during the lesson? How much time should we spend using these apps, or is it just to be used outside the classroom? So that's what we collectively came up with.
Yeah, that's really helpful, Natalia. Thank you. Just to add my personal comments, I think in terms of proportion of time, I would try to keep kids off the phones as much as possible. You know, so I think in the class, I think it's important when you're introducing it to them, when you're showing them how to use it. And I think, so for example, if they want to use it as a tool, so as a dictionary or to check an ending, for example, I think that's really valuable in class. And I would want to encourage that all the time. So they would know how to use Reverso or how to use Lingue as their main dictionary. I would really encourage that. And sometimes we might do, let's say, Quizlet Live to play a fun game with some vocab, but usually sort of towards the end of term sort of thing. But otherwise, I think, like, you know, you want to make the most of the face-to-face. And I think the face-to-face can allow you to help them to use the apps. So I think if you're introducing an app, I'd use it then. But otherwise, like I say, like for me, the great thing about the apps is that it's about independent study. It's about they can do 5 minutes vocab learning in the car on the way to school or on their way to their lessons or when they're on the tube, wherever it might be. And it's whatever we can use our contact time to allow them to develop good independent habits. I think that's really key. That's really helpful. Thank you, Group 2. Group 3, we had Adam, Julia, Katya, Aliona, Francis. Anyone get feedback? I'm going to pick somebody. Adam, I'm going to pick you. You're looking panicked.
I could use that method too. Yeah, we looking at the list. I was frantically taking notes because this is also new to me, I have to say. I'm rather ashamed actually, but we mentioned Kalinka as one thing which I've done into my phone. So I have a nice sort of friendly polar bear looking out at me for basic level Russian. Irina was very much in favor also of Russian in 3 minutes on YouTube, particularly a very good example of Russian to follow. So good, nice spoken Russian, good accent. And then Katya mentioned Stanislav Chernyshov, also on YouTube, for Russian news, for calendar, for sort of very good for, as I understand it right, for sort of sixth form level, where they can get with more advanced language and they need the cultural context as well. Gosh, yeah, I think those are our three main things. Have I missed anything out, anyone?
There was one, Olga Gerald, yes?
Oh, yes, sorry, yes.
The American teacher.
Yes.
Who teaches at university, I think. Is it correct?
Yes. I'm trying to think where the name rings a very, very faint bell, but I'm afraid nothing more than that. I'm just going to look her up, actually. I'm not finding anything.
That's really helpful. Thanks, guys. Yes, it's something I've seen Stanislav Chernyshov's news. They're really good. Again, like good pace, good vocab. I get you brilliant. Really, like production value is a bit lower than the rest, but quality language. Yeah, brilliant. That's super helpful.
Well.
That's great. Well, listen. Let's not go to breakout rooms for the last, but let's just perhaps share a few ideas. I mean, has anyone had any successes in how they have encouraged students to use certain websites or certain apps? How did you do it? What was the student pupils' responses? Anyone want to share a success story of anything you've used in your teaching? Natalia.
Yes, I teach adult students, and one of my students absolutely hated summarizing material. So he would be doing all kinds of written tasks, but never he would hate to speak. And so I asked him to listen to interesting programs on YouTube and summarize them, but also I would give him maybe 5 minutes of this within the same program to write down as a dictation, to write the text down as a dictation. And as a result, he would listen to it for so many times that he would gain enough confidence to, starting with this piece that he has written as a dictation, he would present it, and then it would kind of catapult him into retelling the whole, summarizing the whole piece. So that's amazing. It's a serious breakthrough with this particular student.
That's really helpful. So that's helpful, isn't it? Yeah, I think dictant feels like a very old school thing to do, doesn't it? But actually, I found when I was setting online work for my pupils during lockdown, I found myself setting them actually. And what I do is I set a listening exercise, a very simple listening exercise, and then as extension, I'd say if the bright kids will go back now and write it down. And it's just so good, you know, and it's so good for their grammar. They've got to really think about the endings. They've got to listen so hard to every single word, test their spelling. Yeah, so I'm a sort of a new convert to the art of the old dictant. Yeah, that's really helpful. Any other examples of success stories with websites or apps or anything tech related? Katya, muted. Let's go.
I have discovered Miro boards. Really enjoyed it. So Miro is normally a fee-paying app. It's a platform, isn't it? But you can have 3 boards which are for free. What I did, again, at the beginning of lockdown, I just started to research how can I access, you know, and again, if you put in Miro tutorial in YouTube and you will find, you know, 5 minutes, a teacher explaining how to use this board. So I introduced it with my sixth form. So in one set, I have about 15 kids, which is lovely, which is just, I wouldn't do Miro with a big group, but we were starting to discuss collapse of Soviet Union, and I did this spider diagram, and I gave them the access to Miro board, and they were writing live, you know, so for the first probably 3 minutes, it was like a huge excitement that they could mess up their board and write anything on the board. It's obviously inevitable, but then they actually produce nice work. And I would say, okay, guys, so the homework is you go to the Miro board, you put in, you know, more work into it. And then I used, well, with private students, it's perfect, you know. I mean, you can post all your heavy resources there, you know, like listenings and things like this, but it is really active, and it's interactive whiteboard. Yeah, so a lot of thinking could be happening when, especially if your students in the group are in different places, but they can contribute to this whiteboard together, and obviously they can do it in any language, either Russian or English. So Miro, yeah, I would highly recommend. 3 boards are enough. You know, I have 1 board for each set, so I will just use it for 3 classes. But again, for my purposes, it's the 6th form that I'm using, and it's endless. So you are not limited. You can carry on and post, but only 3 boards. But you can put anything on each board. Yeah. So very
Katya, is that Miro spelled M-I-R-R-O-R normally?
M-I-R-O, Miro.
Oh, Miro. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
So
sounds
put it in YouTube and put the tutorial, and it will explain it to you very quickly, and it's really jazzy. It's a great time waster. I was so excited to explore myself, you know. I like 3 hours were disappeared, you know, but it's really exciting. It's really exciting, you know.
That's great. And let's face it, you know, we may be working under these strange conditions for a while yet, and so anything that can help that kind of collaborative working when we're all very far apart from each other is really helpful. Katya, that's really helpful. Thanks so much. Any other successes to share?
Not when I.
Adam.
Oh yeah, not when I can claim any credit for myself. I was thinking of our intermediate course, that is for people who are second year undergraduates, who've started on the beginner's course, and in together with them at the first year post A levels. We use as our textbook for that Fuchi by Anna Kuduma, Franklin, and Olga Kagan. So the same authors as the Russian from the intermediate to advanced. It's the sort of step below that, which does a really good job of presenting grammar and everything, but it is now, I think, fairly dated. So what's happened is one of the tutors on that course has introduced a weekly session with just easy Russian with worksheets and so on, and that gives quite a good sort of preparation for students who in their 3rd year will be going on their undergraduate year abroad. So that brings them up to speed with this sort of context, as it were, and you know, a bit of sort of live, sort of everyday sort of usage, and then they get the kind of good solid sort of grammatical training, the kind of written training, as it were, from Fuchi, and that seems to work quite well together, though of course they're very different resources. And I'm particularly interested to hear about Russian with Max as a kind of continuation for when sort of easy Russian gets too easy.
Yeah, that's helpful. And like, I suppose the one thought about the content which sound, I mean, Natalia's already said sometimes you have to edit it, and I agree that sometimes you do, but often that process of editing is a lot quicker than creating something yourself from scratch. And let's face it, we're all busy, and sometimes it can feel like I don't have time to find a resource, so I'm going to make it, and actually it's quite hard sometimes to take the jump in the dark and say, actually, no, I'm going to find a really good resource rather than making something myself. And more often than not, you find something really good, and often you find something which is good in ways you would never have thought of making it good yourself. And like I said, I think it's good. There's so much out there. It's really good to try and pick a few winners. And so for me, the easy Russian videos, the Russian with Max, that like they're all such good quality. I'd be happy to watch any of those with the people and to send them in that general direction. I think one thing that's like a plan that I have for the next sort of 6 months or so perhaps is to try and like organize videos by topic. So I've seen on my website it said like, you know, listen like videos by topic. It's not videos by topic yet, but it would be great. You know, my vision would be to have, I don't know, the environment, and there would be a load of good videos under that topic, or it might be, I don't know, the house, or whatever GC or simple theme it might be. And so then you could see straight away, okay, these are good videos that you could go to. So if you're teaching a topic, you could go to that page or that YouTube list, and you'd see 6 or 8 videos that you could quickly jump into and say, oh, that would be a good one to work on. So that's personally something I'll be working on over the coming months, and as and when it's ready, I'll share it with you guys. But I feel like that's a good place to wrap things up. It's an hour and 20, which is more than I thought. I apologize. I was keen to wrap up under an hour, but hopefully it's been useful. Katya sends her apologies. She has been waylaid, but she asked me to thank you for coming, and she also said as well, just to advertise to you the next talk, which is going to be so again, first Monday in December, first Monday in December, and her thought is to do something which is very much sort of sharing good practice related. And her question was for you guys before you go. It would be great if everyone just have a little think just now, and just everyone put one thing in the chat related to teaching and learning or sharing good practice that you think would be valuable to think about in December. And I'm going to be a typical teacher and say you can't go until you've done it. Okay, you have to sit down and so if you could put in the chat one thing that you think would be valuable to talk about in terms of sharing good practice, we'll have a look at all the answers, and then we'll come up with hopefully a really useful session in December for everyone. So have a think and pop it in the chat. Let's have a look at the chat. So we've got very usefully amazingrussian.com from Angus. That'd be great. Okay, so if you haven't added the chat, then do so. Otherwise, we will come up with a plan between us about something to do. So for me, thank you for tuning in. I hope it's been useful. Thank you for your input too. I'm going to go and check out a lot of things that you've said. I suppose technology is always changing. Thanks, Katya. That's useful. Think about assessment is just tricky. Handful listening, very helpful, Natalia. Thank you. Technology is always changing, and since first looking at a number of these apps, I suppose a couple of years ago, I just keep coming up every year. Are these still the best apps? These still the ones I should be recommending to my pupils? Ultimately, I really believe they can do a lot in terms of helping our pupils become independent learners. And I look back at the apps and I think, gosh, when I was a student, I wish I'd had these. It would have made my life so much easier than like trawling through the paper dictionary, looking down to like the 20th piece of text about whether you can use a word in a certain way or not, and not knowing where stress is and those sort of things. So hopefully these will be tools which are useful for your pupils. Thanks so much for coming along, and we'll see you in December. Take care. God bless. Bye bye.